Hey lady, how are you? Thank you for your patience with this reading. Um, yeah, it's a combination of being busy, but also um, just, I think part of it is timing too. So I'm a big proponent of doing things in the right time. And all that to say, I'm glad that you jump started my memory because I needed to put this back in the thought rotation and yeah, I just kind of had inspiration. I was like, it's time to do her reading. So here we are. I am using the Tarot of the Old Path, which is the deck that I have primarily used for like my Tarot Tuesday readings, and it's the oldest deck that I have. So I know you've seen it around and about. You'll probably notice some of the images. And as I'm shuffling here, I am just kind of praying and meditating on you and your name and asking what messages should come through for you today. So that's kind of where I'm setting my intention in my mind, and also asking for that guidance because I am a firm believer that everyone can believe and approach things however they would like. I do believe there is something out there guiding me, so I don't really have a name for it. I usually say universe, but just so you know, that's kind of where I'm coming from. And today we're going to do a 12-month spread. So I've been getting the sense that I need to start it in April. So I'm going to start with I set it up like clockwise. So I'm going to set it up with the 12 o'clock. My it looks like my video is a little delayed, maybe. Okay. I hope that solves some things. Anyway. Okay, so yeah, I felt that I needed to start with April, so I'll go April through March of next year, and then I'm gonna do an overall theme card, which will be for the time period of the cards, and which will be that year spread. So I'm just gonna lay these out, and then I'll try to show you an image of. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, January, February, all right. Okay, so let me see if I can give you a little picture of what this looks like. Whoops. All right, so that center card is your theme card. Okay, so let's just dive into this. So the theme card is the Four of Rods. Hold that up for you. So you've got this really nice balance happening here. There is a sense of family. There's a sense of congeniality, I guess, amicableness, if that's a word. Amiable. I don't know. Anyway, basically, it's just a sense of balance and harmony. Really, that's going to be kind of the overall theme. And maybe as the reading goes on, I'll be able to touch on that a little bit more. But those are just the two words that are coming to mind for now. So for April, we have the Strength card. And I have a feeling that I'm sharing this with you so that you can kind of validate your experiences with April. And also, April's not over yet. So you have some time to kind of play out this theme. So Major Arcana card. This is number 8 in the Major Arcana. And I'm not sure if I've explained to you before or not, but Major Arcana cards tend to be, they're just like, they're more force behind them, more of a punch. So we have the Major Arcana, and then the Minor Arcana are the numbers and suits. And those are a little bit more, they're just not as strong of a message. So whereas the Major Arcana cards, they can be more pervading, more timeless, in that they may last a day, they may last 10 years, but they carry a very strong theme. Whereas the Minor Arcana cards tend to be a little bit more fleeting, a little less. So I'm trying to think. So there's some, like, if you think about food, there's some food that is like very pungent, and then there's some food that's just kind of like, yeah, it's okay. It doesn't have much flavor, and that's kind of how the Major versus the Minor Arcana is. The Major is a very like in your face flavor, whereas the Minor Arcana kind of like, yeah, okay, it tastes okay, and then you can take a drink of water and wash it away. So strength for April. Badass bitch comes to mind, right? So we got this chick. She is naked riding a lion. She controls the lion by the tail. You can see with her left hand, and the right hand she's got these like this snake scepter kind of thing going on. And then the sign of infinity is over her head. So there's kind of this enduring sense of, you got this, girl. Like, this is with the nakedness, there's a sense of vulnerability there. Like, you are not only willing to be vulnerable, but capable of being vulnerable. So those are two different things. You can be willing to be vulnerable and expose yourself, but not handle well what comes along with that vulnerability. Whereas being capable of being vulnerable, you are able to kind of ride the waves of what comes. And it's almost like you've developed this ability to be vulnerable and share yourself, and yet have kind of that tough exterior that says, like, I then don't care if the wind or the waves batter me. I am just fine. I'm capable of taming this lion, whether that's inner lion or outer lion. Like, I'm capable of doing this. And then I feel like the infinity sign, there's like a sense of durability, that this is not just for April. This is going to carry through with you. Kind of like what I was saying, it could be 10 minutes or 10 years. This sense of strength is now yours. You own this. So you're not, it's not just for the month of April. I think maybe it came up in April. Maybe that transition happened for you in April, but this is actually going to be an enduring characteristic that you carry on with you. May is the Six of Pentacles. It's in reverse. So I'm going to write that for you. This is what it looks like, the Six of Pentacles. But it's the opposite. So, sorry, I'm just hearing a weird noise. So usually with reverse cards, there's a meaning for the card, but then the reverse is usually the opposite, or it could serve as a warning. This is direction you're going. Okay, so Six of Pentacles. So the thing that keeps catching my eye is these hands reaching in over here. And there's almost like, here's this guy has been kind of storing up his resources, whether that's money or time or energy, even tools like skills that you can gain. He's been working, he's been storing them up, and he's got people reaching for them. So there's the sense of like, I almost see it kind of a taunting in his face. Like, sorry, these are mine. You don't get none. This is in reverse. So I think for you, May is going to kind of be this time where um, you're storing up your resources. You've gained valuable tool sets along the way, whether that's relationships, abilities, maybe your ability to work with people, or um, the like mommy skills, like learning about your children, garnering those resources and ways to raise kids, ways to be in relationship with your spouse. There are a lot of things you've paid attention to over the years, tools that you've built up. And so I think your invitation for May is to, how are you going to share those? What are you going to do with those tools? How are you going to lend yourself as a resource? And you get to be choosy. You don't have to give that information to everyone. So you may think like, oh, maybe I should write a blog. Well, only write a blog if that's what resonates the most with you. If you really feel like this is how I best want to share and I want to make this information available to everyone. Maybe it's doing one-on-one, just having a one-on-one mentorship with one person, you just really just find one person that you're like, I want to bestow this information and these gifts onto. Maybe it's speak your story, maybe it's, going in that direction. My point is, though, that you get to choose. You get to decide how you want to share your tools and resources. You don't have to hold them over people in the sense that I know better. And you don't have to, if people are reaching for them that you don't want to give them to, you don't kind of have to go, well, I know that and you don't. You can just tell them no. Like you can just draw a boundary and tell them no. Okay, June is the Three of Swords. It's in reverse. So here's what it looks like right side up. Here's what it looks like it's in reverse. Again, it could be an opposite. It could be a warning. So Three of Swords, generally, I always find this to be a very interesting card because there's like a lot of infighting with these two masculine characters. So to me, that looks like there's almost like a warring of the masculine energies inside of you. But then what it's doing is hurting the feminine. The feminine is upset. So what I'm seeing with this is to be careful with your words. And if there are parts of you, again, this is May, right? April, May, sorry, this is June. Be careful with your words. If there are parts of you that are not responding well or not reacting well to the language that you're using or the style of communication that you're using, be willing to change it up, okay? So let's say, like, for instance, you are getting ready to send an email to your sister explaining why. Really tune in to yourself, touch base with yourself, and see if this is it's just relieving for you to kind of get it all out there and you don't really need her to hear it. Can you maybe just put it in a draft folder or even just copy it, like just write it and then erase it? Will that be helpful enough? Or is this truly something this person needs to hear? And yes, it should go to them. So May, I get this feeling that June is really going to be a month of really just checking in and seeing if you're doing something just for yourself for relief, and that's totally okay, or if what you're doing is for the betterment of the relationship or the connection that you have. And then go from there. If it's just for you and you just feel relief getting it off your chest, maybe just write it, delete it. But if you really feel like, this is in service to the relationship, I want to reunite with this person, or I want to heal this circumstance, go for it. And then be open to feedback. So if you do send out some communication or you do say something and then that person comes back to you and says, hey, this was not the right way to go about it, or I don't like that you said this, like be open to that feedback and be willing to change and adjust. Communication this month is going to be huge. Okay. July is the Ten of Swords. And so we are continuing our issue with communication. In receiving feedback, make sure that you can receive. When you receive the feedback, make sure you can filter it through, like, okay, no, this is just kind of their perspective, and they're having a hard time. What they're saying doesn't resonate with me, so I'm gonna let it go. Or, hey, you know what, they're right. That is, I really could do that better. So during this month, the month of July, you're really going to be learning how to filter feedback that you get, and then balancing that feedback with the truth as you know it. All right. So usually when I do these readings, I tell people, I talk to them about to take what resonates with them and leave behind what doesn't. And what that means is, so resonance is like when you think about when you pluck a guitar string and the string vibrates, it makes noise, and then you can feel that vibration, right? Well, that's what resonance is. And so when something hits you that is true, it kind of plucks that part of you that resonates. Now it can be a negative resonation where it's like it stirs up old emotion or anxiety or something like that. That's still resonance. Or it can be positive where it's very affirming. I feel so empowered. Like all of that is resonance. When it doesn't resonate, it falls flat. It generally does not make any, you don't feel it in your body. It goes away. So pay attention to that. When people are giving you feedback, learn how to filter through. Does this resonate with me? Even if it's, wow, that really, I'm angry about that. That's resonance. It's stirring something for you. So you may take some time to, before responding, it's okay to say, thank you for sharing that. Let me think about what you've said and I'll get back to you. Okay. Allow some of that to really, give yourself time and space to respond, basically, because if it is something that makes you angry, you need to dig into that. You need to go back and say, why is what they're saying making me angry, and peel back those layers. So be open to feedback, but also stay true to you. August is another major arcana card. It's the Star in reverse. So this is what the star looks like right side up. And generally the star is kind of the sense of balance where she's got one foot in the water, which symbolizes emotion. She's got one foot grounded, which symbolizes logic. And she's kind of pouring from both of those. She's, again, the nudity, like she's naked, she's vulnerable. She's totally fine with that. She's open to that. We're in reverse here. So this is kind of where your balance is going to be tested. What I mentioned, the balance and harmony, that's the theme of the year. It's going to be tested. So it's going to be really important in the month of August to tune into your emotional body and make sure that it's not being outruled by your logical mind. And then vice versa. Make sure your logical mind is not being outruled by your emotional body. So really practicing standing in both worlds. That's what August is going to look like. And I highly recommend getting a journal out and writing these down, especially writing things that strike you as you're listening through this period. Any phrases that stand out to you, and that way you can kind of revisit that. Obviously, you'll have the link to this video so you can revisit that anytime, but it will be interesting to go back and say, oh, this is what stood out to me in April when I listened to it, and now it's August, and this is really what's playing out in real life. Okay. September is another major arcana card, the Close, and this is number 13. So we have a lot going on here. Obviously, we have the Grim Reaper, which stands out, but we've also got these interesting symbols of life. We have a baby, we have two birds, a snowy owl, and actually a barn owl, and a heron, and a butterfly. So lots of methods of, lots of animals of flight here. So September, even though there's going to be some endings, this is actually going to be a month really where you feel yourself take flight. Whether that's your professional world, your personal life, your maybe just your personality. Maybe you feel this space where I'm really like coming into my own, and I'm able to like open my wings and soar higher and all that good stuff. So I would encourage you in this month and in the month of September, yeah, September, to see endings as new beginnings. Okay, so to allow yourself that perspective shift where something may be dying, something may be changing, but what is it giving birth to, right? So when you became a mom, that was kind of the death of your non-mom life. Like you're never going to go back to that. You're never going to not be a mom again. You are now a mom. And so, but right, what do we focus on when we're having a baby? We focus on motherhood, this new life you're coming into. So I would encourage you to kind of adopt that perspective in September where you take the ending of something and instead of focusing on the death, focus on the new birth. October is the High Priestess, and this is in reverse, another major arcana card. It's an interesting, August, September, October is going to be an interesting stretch for you because you've got major arcana cards out the wazoo. So I would imagine that's going to be a pretty powerful and intense time for you. The High Priestess is one of my absolute favorites. She is kind of the quintessential mama. Actually, she's not so much the mama as she is this like divinely feminine leader. Okay. She's all the animals flock to her. She's got her butterfly again over here. She's a perfect balance between like day and night, like the moon and the sun. Actually, light and shadow kind of is more of what I'm getting here. She's the balance of light and shadow. But she's in reverse. So let's talk about that. So reverse is leaning, in my mind, more toward the shadowy side of leadership, which can be where, and this is October, so it could be coming into a place of more authority where maybe it's a job change where you accept more responsibility, you become a leader. Maybe it's just in life. You just see yourself kind of moving into this natural leadership position. The October is a month to be wary of the shadowy side of leadership. And so, you know, we see that playing out in the world, in the greater world, where leadership turns to greed, it turns to manipulation, it turns to pushing your agenda over the tops of other people, stepping on people, etc., etc. I think about the book Hope for the Flowers. That's come up for me lately. I don't know if you've read that, but I would highly recommend picking up a copy. It's a story of two caterpillars, and they kind of stumble on this wall, and they notice just this like tall pillar reaching all the way to the sun. And the caterpillars have all decided that the sun is their destination. They need to get close to the sun, but the only way to do that is to step all over each other and crawl and climb to the top of this pillar. But that's crawling and climbing over everyone else. Until one of the caterpillars meets a butterfly. And he's like, hey, by the way. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to check something. No, okay. The butterfly is like, hey, by the way, there's another way to do this. You can transform, you can grow wings, and you can fly to that. And initially the caterpillars, both of them are just like, we don't see how that's possible, right? How do caterpillars become butterflies? But one of them agrees. She's like, okay, I'm going to see how this works. So she engages in the process of transformation. My point of that is there's always another way. So when you step into these roles of leadership and you're told that it's supposed to be done one way, but that maybe that doesn't resonate with you, be willing to let go of what doesn't resonate with you and explore other options, because there's always another way, and there can be a win-win way of leading and taking responsibility for other people. November is the Nine of Swords in reverse. So I'm going to flip this for you. Swords, again, is communication. You've got a lot of that coming up in your cards, so something to pay attention to. 9 is in reverse, which I think for this one is a good sign. I see November as being kind of the time when a lot of the things you've been working through prior to that, it's almost like you've been able to see what's happening, but there's been kind of a blindfold. You've been maybe blinded by ambition. I don't know why that's coming up, but that just keeps coming up. And November is really when that starts to fall away. So you're going to start to see how the work you've been doing and learning about communication, and then the work you've been doing facing your shadowy side of being a leader and being in a place of power, so to speak, facing that is going to come to fruition in November. You're going to start to see the fruits of that labor. The blindfolds kind of fall off. You really start to see things as they are, yourself as you are, and that means the good, the light, and the shadow. So coming to understand both parts of yourself. December is the Eight of Pentacles. And Pentacles kind of having to do with the work of the hands. It's very earthbound. It's a grounding month for you, I think. Kind of putting aside the spiritual, the mental work that you've been doing in the months leading up to this. You're really just kind of ready to work with your hands. And this could be something as simple as like making your own Christmas cards with your hands, or making Christmas presents. This might be a good month or year to decide that your family is going to make each other presents instead of buying them, because I think that would be a really grounding practice for you, and allow you to then to still give and receive, even as you're kind of doing something, making something with your hands. You're still practicing giving and receiving in that moment, but you're doing this thing that's like a really grounding practice for you. And given that butterflies have come up in the last several cards and just came up in the Hope for the Flower story, December may be a month where you do need to focus on grounding, okay? Coming back to a grounded self, realizing that having wings does not mean that there's anything wrong. You can be grounded and take flight at the same time. So in December, come back to yourself, ground yourself, and then be ready to fly again. January is another major arcana card. It's Karma. It's number 20. Again, a lot going on here. I'm going to leave this up here so you can just take a look. And the idea of karma is that what we put into the world is what we receive from the world. So with January in mind, it's a new year. What do you want your intentions to be for the year? How do you want to set up the year of 2019 to be one where you're actively creating the world you want to live in? What does that look like? And I think you're being given a heads up now so that you can kind of start daydreaming what that looks like for you, because 2019 is going to be really a year in time when you learn how to create your reality. You learn how to you learn what it means to dream really big and manifest those dreams. So think now, begin thinking now of what kind of world that looks like. What kind of world do you want to live in? And big picture, but also coming back to the little picture. Big picture of like, I want equal pay for women and men. I want just I want justice for people regardless of their religion or gender or race or you name it, or sexual orientation. I want people to feel safe, kind of that big macro level, but then going down to the micro also of I want a peaceful home. I want relationships that are fruitful for both parties. A good give and take. I want that kind of thing. Micro. Or I want to take a bath once or twice a week, like that kind of bringing that down. That's the world you want to live in. Because January and sounds like 2019 is going to be all about creating the life you want, the world you want to live in. February is the wise one. It's in reverse. Another major arcana card here. Show you what this looks like. Another butterfly here. There's something there. You might want to research butterflies and what their symbolism is. Like it's called an animal totem. Butterfly may well be yours. Or it may just be kind of the theme of this next year for you, where you're paying attention to that. Okay, so in other tarot decks, the wise one is also called the hermit. And the wise one tends to be the teacher. He carries this lamp around. He carries a book around. He brings fire. See how he's melting the snow even, creating streams of living water for the animals. So the wise one is a really important card because it reminds us that we have that capability within ourselves. Now yours was in reverse. So the message I'm getting is to beware of false prophets. I grew up in the Bible, so sometimes those phrases just come back to me, but I also find that they're generally appropriate. So beware of people who say things to you, who seem to be guiding the way, but really are not. They're leading you down a black hole. So what you want to do is when you receive information or wisdom, you want to tune in with yourself and say, is this something I want to hold on to? Don't consider the source. Don't consider what they're saying. Don't allow the content to distract you. It's going to be the messenger that's important. So tune in, ask yourself if this is something like that I should hold on to or should I let it go? And then act on that. Don't hesitate. It doesn't matter if this is your best friend, your mom's best friend, your high school basketball coach, like it doesn't matter who it is. They can still lead you astray. And you want to really tune into your center and see if that resonates with the core of who you are. And if it does, then it's probably the right step. But again, only you're going to know that. Give yourself permission to know and to act on that. All right. Last but not least, March is the Three of Pentacles upside down. So, Three of Pentacles, it's almost like it's like the preparation period. It's being a student, or it's building the business plan, or developing the blueprints for the dream house. Like it's kind of that period. It is in reverse, so I think what I'm getting is that you are at the beginning, you are in the development stages, but you actually have all the tools and knowledge that you need. So you don't need to be concerned about what you're going to provide or what you're not going to be able to provide. You're going to be able to discern that. Just pay extra close attention to those moments. And sometimes, I know for me, sometimes it's like I encounter someone who's doing the job much better than I am. And instead of going, oh, I have a lot to learn from them, I think, oh, my place is being threatened. My place in this world is being threatened. So it's going to be important to remember that your place in this world is not being threatened. And you can afford to learn. You can afford to break free and pick up new skills and do new things. All in all, again, with our theme card, it's all gonna come out to a sum balance of 0 or of equal. Okay, so harmony and what did I say were these two? Well, anyway, you have it in the video. Harmony and stability are going to be huge over this next year. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns. I will try my best to answer those. I usually tell people also to spend some time in meditation and prayer with the things that come up. So meditation being the time where you're just still and listening, breathing in and out through the nose, and then prayer being where you're really asking the questions and maybe allowing some time and space to hear the answers, or just trusting the answers will come to you when they're ready to come to you. So thank you for allowing me to share this with you, and let me know if you have any questions or concerns, but otherwise, blessings to you, friend. Bye.